welcome to IMAGI-NATION TV. This week 14, episode 65, featuring designers on the theme of Yes and. I'm Eliana and I'm one of your co-hosts for today's episode. We are from Cole High School in the Australia's Capital Territory. I'm in Year 10 and I volunteered for today's episode because I thought personally it would be a fantastic opportunity for me. And to the theme of yes and, it means to me acknowledging someone's idea and adding more value to it.
I'm Aiden and I'm in Year 8. I thought co-hosting would be a fun idea and I thought it'd be a good idea to get something to get me out of my comfort zone. When I think about yes and, I think acknowledging them, what they say, and for them to add on to what they said.
And
Amazing.
now to Dorcas.
Girl, I jumped in already, but it's all good. It's all good. Thank you both. Thank you, Ileana and Aiden. That was a beautiful introduction. Welcome, everyone. I'm Dorcas. I am your co-host today. I am supporting these two amazing young people. And just to recap about yesterday's learnings on this topic of yes and, I think because yesterday we had youngsters leading the show, we learned that yes and can be very playful. It can be in the moment. It was really fun to watch the young people during failure time. I think that was my favorite part of it. But also we had some speeches from young people and some of the things that they said was about taking the opportunity and being present and helping other people to progress that idea. So yeah, let's continue to learn. And today is designers and we have an incredible bunch of people on our panel. It's exciting. It feels like home to me. So you'll learn about that in a minute. But let's welcome our audience. Where are they? Guys, can you take yourselves off mute and just say a big hello?
Hi.
There it is. And can I get everyone in the audience just to say your name and your grade?
Hi, I'm Mia and I'm in Year 8.
Hi, I'm Caitlin and I'm in Year 9.
Hi, I'm William and I'm in Year 7.
I'm Charlotte and I'm in Year 9.
I'm Jacob and I'm in Year 8. I'm Joseph and I'm also in Year 8.
Amazing, awesome. Now, so today's topic is, or this week's topic is yes and. What are you guys hoping to learn from our panelists today?
I personally am hoping to learn what different people interpret yes and as being.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add to that?
I'm just looking for as Mia said, the definition of what yes and means for a wide variety of people.
Cool. And does anybody want to share with us what they think at this point, what yes and means to them?
I personally think that yes and is saying that you agree with something that someone has said, but you also want to add onto it, and that you want to extend it further.
Amazing, cool. Well, I'm excited to learn about what's coming up today. And so you guys have your pens and paper ready, write some notes, ask some questions, and we're gonna learn together. And now I am going to throw back to our hosts and they are going to take us through the next segment of this show. Liliana and Aiden, take it away.
Okay, with us today we have Mrs. Megan Altenberg, who is our school's principal. Miss Altenberg, how do you feel about joining us for this live broadcast across the nation?
Fascinated.
Okay.
We're now going to ask you some questions to get ready to know you a bit more. We'll see how many we can get through. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. So, what is your idea of perfect happiness?
My idea of perfect happiness is being fully engaged in something. It's what I choose to do to be fully engaged has changed over the years. It used to be doing maths when I was at school and uni, and then used to be teaching in a classroom, and bizarrely now it's being at work every day. I'm fully engaged, and that's what I absolutely love. Lucky.
What is your greatest fear?
I really don't like speaking in, no, that's not my greatest fear. Yeah, it is. No, my greatest fear is I'm a bit of a FOWOT. You know, those fear of what others think? I have to challenge myself with that all the time.
Ah. On what occasion are you out of your comfort zone?
Anytime I do a presentation in front of a whole hall of people, or even videoing and myself, I hate it. I get really uncomfortable, and I don't want to see this played back.
What would you like humans to do more of?
Give a bit more in everything they do.
On what occasion do you value rebelliousness?
As long as it doesn't hurt or harm people, and it's a bit of fun, I think it's a really good display of individuality sometimes. Good example of that is my wonderfully individual 18-year-old daughter got a tattoo on the weekend, and it horrified her grandmother, but I sort of thought it was a bit of fun. That was rebelliousness.
Okay,
Rebelliousness.
well,
That's it.
yep. Thank you for supporting the work AIM does and working with the kids at our school and being a role model for all of us.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Have a good session.
How did our principal go? What would you rate them out of 10?
Live audience, take yourselves off mute and let us know what you thought. How do you think your principal did?
I think she did pretty good. Very well.
Probably a 9 out of 10. You can see that she was a bit nervous to speak in front of all these people.
Awesome, thank you. Well, she did really well. And I think also Ileana and Aiden, you guys rocked that session. You led it very, very well. So well done to you two as well. And just a big thank you, of course, to Megan, as you've thanked her as well, for supporting us in the work that we do, and also just supporting you guys at school and being a great human and a role model for you and also for us as well. So yeah, it's amazing to have principals participate on the show. And now to jump onto our next part of the show, you know, as we know, COVID-19 has, you know, come up with all sorts of difficulties and challenges. And one of the things was that a lot of people lost jobs. And so, you know, that means they couldn't pay rent. But at AIM, we have a great initiative called This Hoodie Pays Rent. And, you know, we invite people to become hoodie connectors and take up this initiative to help themselves and help others in their community. But before we jump on to meet our this week's hoodie connector, I just want to tell you a little bit about what's been happening, some highlights about what's happening with the initiative. So at the moment, the total sales to date is $38,214. which equals roughly about $10,700 in rental payments. So we are paying that rent. And the number of hoodies that have been sold so far is 386. So yeah, if you've lost a job, if you know somebody who can benefit from this, jump on our website on aimmentoring.com and become a hoodie connector. And with that said, let's meet this week's hoodie connector, and that's Gilbert Odom.
Hey yo, what's up over there? I'm Gilbert from Uganda. I'm a mentor in Uganda here. Why I really signed to be a hoodie connector is because of the pandemic that has affected very many people around the world. And this is a moment where we really need one another. We need each other's help in one way or the other. So I was like, if I join this program of being a hoodie connector, I can be able to support a mentor, and I can be able to support someone who really needs something for survival. So I was like, I should be part of this and also support myself to pay the rent, because most of the countries have been on a lockdown and you can't work, but the needs will be there. So I was like, let me do this to support someone out there and they can be able to survive, because kindness costs nothing totally, because we need each other. I need to lean on one's shoulder to survive. Sometimes we have two hands. One hand is to support someone and one hand is to support yourself. Let's stay positive. All this will end. Stay safe and this will end. Peace.
Amazing. Well, that's what you can do as a hoodie connector. And thank you so much to Gilbert for taking up the opportunity and helping himself and obviously extending that into his community as well. So this is the meat of the show. I'm super, super excited to introduce our panel of designers for today. I did say I feel a little bit like home. So every one of our panelists are from the continent of Africa. And actually, two of them are in Africa at the moment. It's like 3 a.m. back home. So, you know, we really appreciate the fact that they woke up at this hour to be with us, to share with us about themselves and the work that they do. So I would like to welcome Paul, Dan, and Anisa. And I mean, I can say so much about you guys, but I'm not going to. I'm going to let each one of you just jump in and tell us a little bit about what you do, and yeah, let's get into today's discussion. Let's start with you, Paul.
Okay, am I clear now? I think I'm clear, finally. Hey, hello everyone. Let me fix my camera there. My name is Paul Modjadji, and I am a dancer and choreographer from South Africa. I am a storyteller, you know, by calling. That's how I pretty much prefer to see the work that I do. I'm a filmmaker. I also run a foundation called the Leaders Who Dare to Dream Foundation that basically aims to make, or that works rather, to make arts education accessible to impoverished communities. Some of you guys might know in South Africa, you know, the divide between really affluent communities and impoverished communities is quite wide. So you find that a lot of really, you know, disadvantaged communities, you know, lack in terms of like programs for youth development or arts curriculum or just arts programs basically. So my foundation basically works to make arts education accessible in communities where, you know, young people need it the most. You know, I'm an artist, I'm passionate about young people, I'm passionate about the world. And more than anything, you know, one of my biggest drives right now is to be at the forefront of, you know, crafting a narrative for Africans. So I'm really passionate about, you know, Africans taking charge and ownership of their own narrative. Hi.
Thank you, Paul. That was amazing. Now, Anisa, do you want to jump in and give us a quick rundown of who you are and what you do?
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. My name is Anisa. I'm a law student, almost finished, really excited about that. But when I'm not struggling and reading cases, I'm a writer of all sorts. I started out writing poetry, so I published a book and I did a tour around Australia, just doing shows. And then I decided to expand my writing. So I started writing theater plays, acting in theater plays. doing commission pieces, so storytelling of all forms. And in doing this, I realized that in most of the spaces that I spent time in, I never saw anyone who looked like me. So I started an organization called Voices of Color. And Voices of Color is a collective of young people who are dedicated to elevating the voices of migrant, refugee, and First Nations artists, particularly storytellers. And we do this by running a showcase once a month. And we've been doing it for the last 3 years, where we invite all people of color to come and share their work and create opportunities for them that wouldn't have existed otherwise. And yeah, I'm very passionate about storytelling because I believe that its stories are the link that hold us all together, and they're the path to understanding each other.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I look forward, and I'm sure everyone is looking forward to learning a little bit more about you as the show progresses. And now let's go to Dan. Dan, can you please tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Greetings from Pretoria. My name is Dan Matsapola. I'm a space scientist, currently playing the role of Science Engagement Manager at the South African National Space Agency. My job is to excite young people about the opportunities, abundant opportunities that are available through exploration of space and use of space to support the development agenda of our communities. It gives me great pleasure to also be an entrepreneur because I do have my own businesses. So I encourage young people to dig within themselves and discover an entire universe, just as vast as the universe we observe with telescopes and satellites in outer space, and realize that they can actually tap into that world and bring to the surface incredible opportunities that lie dormant within us, waiting to be discovered, explored, and exploited to whatever ends we desire.
Amazing. Well, thank you for that. I might just quickly throw it over to Ileana and Aiden. Do you guys have any questions that you want to ask our panel today?
Yeah, we do. So, how have you landed on Imagination TV?
Anybody can jump in and take that one.
Oh, okay. Well, I landed on Imagination TV because I have a mutual friend in Australia who used to work with me at the space agency, and she felt that I vibrate at a high enough frequency to link up with the wonderful theme and the actual intent of imagination. As you know, imagination is one of the most powerful mental faculties human beings have that can take us into the future and bring the future back to us.
Yeah, I'm much in the same. I connected with a friend. So yeah, I second that.
And I'm very fortunate to be close friends with our gorgeous host, Miss Dorcas, who is obviously pretty much aware of my work and my space. And yeah, so thanks for the invitation, G.
Paul, what is the link between yes and design?
Pardon? Can I get the question again?
What is the link between yes and design?
Oh my God. For me, I think, it begins with yes. I think you need to peel away at, a level of, putting in the work that goes with discovering what it is that you want. I think, the clarity of knowing what you want is where it all begins. I think design, plays out differently for a lot of people. I know so many people that have followed the traditional way of getting to the top. but I also know so many other people who have almost ended up there by a design that was not of their making, you know? So for me, I always say perhaps the biggest thing and where you want to start before you even map out a design, your design course, is to be clear about what it is that you want, to be intentional about what you want, to try and spend a bit of time peeling away at those layers, you know? So for me, I think the link perhaps starts with being able to identify the role that each one plays. And the design for me, I suppose, is more the map, is more the how-to, and you know, the yes for me speaks to the clarity around what it is that I want. It speaks more around, you know, what my intention or what my expected outcome is.
All right. Okay, Anissa, what does yes and mean to you?
Me? Cool. To me, yes and is an acknowledgement of the things that have happened in your life, but also realizing that none of those things hold control over who you are now and where you are yet to go. So the way that I perceive yes and in the realm of design is when I first started out as a writer, my self-confidence was so low. I failed English in high school. So yes, I failed English in high school. And does that mean I can't write a book? Does that mean I can't tour around sharing my poetry? No, it does not, because my failures do not define where I'm going to go. And to me, yes and is turning your pain, acknowledging your pain and saying, yes, I see my pain, and I'm going to turn it into my purpose. And my purpose is to tell stories. My purpose is to create. And then the next step in the design process for me is going, yes, this is my purpose. How can I turn my purpose into my personality and develop the habits of an artist, of a storyteller, and actually doing the things that I say I'm gonna do? So if I say I wanna write a book, do I wake up every morning and write a few pages? So turning pain into purpose and your purpose into your personality. So that's what the phrase means to me.
That is a fantastic answer. I absolutely loved it.
We're going to throw back to Dorcas for any other questions.
Thank you, guys. Yes, those were fabulous questions and amazing answers. This is exciting. And Dan, you call yourself the African billionaire who changed the world by changing himself. And as a scientist, you also believe very much in the world of imagination, you know, not just as a scientific thing, but, you know, as a way of life as well. So I want to ask you, you know, when was your yes and moment when you decided that I am going to be the African billionaire who changed my life, you know, who changed the world by changing myself? So when was that moment for you?
Thanks, Dorcas. You know, I've studied science all my life, and I studied it to pass exams. And at first I thought, well, it is to prepare me for a job in any field, and I landed in the space industry, the infinite world of the space industry. The true moment was when I read something from Albert Einstein, a great genius in recent history. He said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. If you match the frequency of the reality you want, you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. And he said, this is not philosophy, this is physics. So I started to ask myself how that statement relates to me, and I discovered that actually I can become anything that I choose to become. So school prepared me for a job. And so I always say I get paid to mind my employer's business. And that is the one side. But when I discovered the entrepreneur within me, and my mentor helped me to see that actually I don't have to just work for money. I can become an employer of money. And money can work so hard for me while I'm sleeping. And money, it's a fantastic servant, but a very terrible master. Then I realized that there is something within me, and that thing vibrates at a particular frequency, and I decided to call it to the surface. So the billionaire comes from me tuning into the billionaire frequency to change the world the only way I possibly can, and that is by changing myself, because when I change the way I look at something, what I look at will change.
Wow, okay, that was a lot. Thank you so much for that beautiful answer. I think you went to so many areas. It's incredible. I think we'll have to go back and rewatch this episode and unpack all of those amazing nuggets that you've shared with us. Now, I just want to ask our audience if you can jump off mute, and if you have any questions for our panel, this is your chance to ask.
So we were wondering, how did you guys get involved with AIM?
Anybody jump in?
Yeah, so one of, sorry, do you want to go first?
Please, go ahead.
Thank you. So one of the artists who comes and performs at Voices of Color works for AIM. His name is Sachin. So he connected me with AIM.
Thank you, Anisa. Dan?
Well, Dorcas, I think, I don't know if the audience knows that you're actually from South Africa originally. So for me, my first international trip out of South Africa was to Australia. And when Dorcas contacted me and told me the whole story about what the objectives are, I was hooked. And I realized that this will be my return to Australia this time around. And the intersecting circles are just wider and wider. So I think the objectives are powerful and global in nature. We're bringing joy to the world.
Amazing. Paul?
And of course, this is my first day interacting with AIM, but like the work that AIM does correlates and aligns with the work that I do here at home. So there was natural synergy.
Amazing. Well, thank you for that question, guys. I just want to, Paul, just while I have you there, you know, at AIM, we work, you know, with young people, and we really hone on identity and, you know, encouraging Indigenous kids and African kids and kids of the world who are systemically marginalized by, you know, historically, to just love who they are and just, you know, go in there and use identity as a powerful thing. I know you work in the arts industry, and, you know, identity plays a big role in your life. You know, we know each other, we come from far, we've hustled together, we've done stuff together. So I know that identity is a big thing for you. And you've always been in the spaces that you've existed, you've always been unique in everything that you do. You've always been a dancer, you know, and we know culturally as a boy, being a dancer, growing up in the township, you know, it's not normal. It's not whatever normal means. So I just want you to tell us a little bit about, I know we spoke about yes and you spoke about, you know, the clarity and the intention of what it is that you want to do. So I just want you to share with young people about how important it is, you know, how your identity plays a key role and how you can work with that within the spaces that you're in.
Thank you, Dorcas. I think for me, honestly, at the crux of it is a lesson that I think relates to all of us, you know, that our biggest task and perhaps purpose in life is to discover who we are and to get on with the job of, you know, fulfilling that. And, you know pretty well that, you know, coming from South Africa, a very, you know, to a large extent, very culture, you know, very cultural country where, you know, most of us come from very specific clans that, you know, speak to who we are and to our identities and to the sort of expectations that our families have of us. You know, going in the direction of dance, or even, you know, being an artist is not a profession that is seen as a very commercial or a very, you know, safe industry to go into. And I think for me, that was the first area at which I needed to, at which I was confronted with issues of my identity, you know, having to own the fact that, you know, I was an artist in a family where, you know, I was the first generation. I had no reference. I had no uncle or aunt who had pursued a career within the creative space. To be true to my calling was, I think, the first, you know, layer of, you know, confronting what it means to confront your identity, you know, even if it's going against the grain, even if it's going into a space that is uncharted, and a space that is not necessarily encouraged, and finding meaning within that. And of course, as you grow old and as you get older and as you know, you grow within your space, you learn that there are other layers, you know, that you know, life continues to force you or to push you in the direction of peeling. So yeah, from a very personal standpoint there, I'd say that, you know, it's a journey that all of us at some level have to, unfortunately or fortunately, confront, because I think that, you know, it's one of the best things you can ever do. And in fact, I say that I'm thankful that my journey towards discovering my identity and my life work, I'm fortunate that it began in high school. I'm fortunate that it began at a young age, because what it did is that it allowed me to get on with it. You know, I feel like I didn't waste 10 years of my life after finishing school searching for who I am. I'm so fortunate that at a very young age, I was able to find my calling, my purpose, or my identity in life.
I'd love to add something to that, if that's okay.
That's okay, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. That was very beautiful. And the way that I perceive identity is that your identity is like an anchor, right? Without your identity, you're just going to move back and forth or wherever the waves of life take you. But your identity, it grounds you. And when I moved to Australia, I was raised in a small country town. I was the only Black girl there in Rockhampton. And there was all this racism surrounding me. And then when I realized that my identity is like, it's like a family heirloom that my great ancestors passed down to me. It contains courage. It contains hope. My skin contains messages. My hair contains all of these things that my ancestors have left for me to understand, tools that I can use to be the person that I was meant to be. Your culture is a gift. It's a gift. And we just need to open it and to unwrap it and to use it to become the people we're meant to be. And I'm excited for all of you young people to do that and to see the strength that that brings.
Wow. Okay. I wish we had all day to keep going like this, because this could just go on and on and on. And I think from everything that you've said, especially from that answer that both Paul and Anisa just gave, I heard, you know, messages about yes and, even though you didn't touch on them. It's like, you know, you were confronted with these problems or challenges which you saw as opportunities. So you said yes to those challenges and you're like, how do we move on from it? So that's pretty incredible. Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing everything with us today. I might just quickly throw it over to our host. Do you guys have any final words? Do you want to say anything before we shut it down?
Not really, but thank you guys for sharing. Like, the stories are amazing.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You guys have been amazing yourselves. You led the show really, really well. So thank you for joining me today. And our live audience, thank you so much. I hope you guys have learned something today about yes and I hope you took all these lovely messages that, you know, that our panelists shared with you, and you will use that in your everyday life. Thank you to our principal, who is now gone, Megan. She's like busy, gotta go do some work. But you know, to our lovely panelists, thank you so much for making the time and for coming on the show and just opening yourselves up to share your personal stories. And in particular, you, Dan and Paul, for waking up. It's like 3 a.m. back home. So we really appreciate it. And we hope that, you know, our ties with you guys don't stop here. And Anisa, girl, you're in Australia, so we'll be connecting as well. So thank you so much. And with that, let's wrap it up and say thank you. And we'll see you all again tomorrow, same time.